Hi there, my name is Lori Gasca and I am a mom of 4. My husband Michael and I have 4 children ranging in ages from 12 to 19. So while I don't profess to be an expert of any sort, I do have a little experience raising children. The verdict's still out on how that's going to turn out, but we are focusing this week on focus and concentration and how to help our kids with that. So one of the biggest problems facing our children today is the label of ADD, ADHD, because focus and concentration is so hard to come by. They live in an age of constant overstimulation. Their brains do not know how to rest. They are not getting good sleep because they've had so much screen time in that night light of the device or phone that they're on. And the majority of the time, they are simply slapped with a label and medicated. And while in some cases I agree medication is the way to go, in a lot of cases I feel like maybe we have not explored all of the options possible, and that means a lot of natural alternatives to the medications that we are just so readily taking as a society because we want a quick fix. So I want to just talk briefly about some of the things that, while they may seem extremely obvious, sometimes that bears repeating, just some reminders about how we can help our children, especially as we get ready to go into school. Again, summer's almost over, with focus and concentration. So first of all, let's talk about just getting outside. So many times our kids just spend most of the day inside, and I know where we live in Texas it's extremely hot, so we find it much easier to be inside in the air conditioning than outside. But when children are outside, they are rarely sitting still. So not only are they helping their brain, they are helping their physical health as well because they're moving. Being outside, kids move and explore. They have a lot of energy. Kids have a lot of energy. I wish I had some of it most of the time, but they need an outlet for it. They need to have someone who can come in and say, I'm going to take that device away from you, or I'm going to turn the TV off and we're going to go outside. Let's talk about what happens when we're outside. We're getting vitamin D. And while this is obvious, it is something that was kind of a light bulb moment for me because we grew up in an age of just crazy skincare, sun cancer prevention, and lathering on sunscreens. But what has happened because of that crazy push for protecting our skin, we are living in an age with significant vitamin D deficiency. Because we are going outside, and every time we go outside we feel like we have to lather the kids down with sunscreen, which is greatly prohibiting them from receiving the natural vitamin D that we get from the sun. There's an article called Does Vitamin D Improve Brain Function? And it's by Diane Welland, and she says the sunshine vitamin is synthesized in our skin when we're exposed directly to sunlight, but sunblock impedes this process. This is another reason to be so excited about why Young Living created a new sunblock that only has a 10 SPF, because it's actually protecting us from the harmful UVA, UVB rays, but it's allowing us to absorb that crucial vitamin D. There are so many studies that you can go and look up about vitamin D and being directly linked to brain functioning, or the functioning of the brain. So I encourage you to do that, and you will believe with me at that point, I'm sure, if you don't already, that it is crucial for our kids to be outside in the sunlight. So how much is enough vitamin D? So according to Michael Melamed, he is an assistant professor of medicine and epidemiology at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York. He says being in the sun is the easiest and fastest way to get vitamin D, and he recommends 10 to 15 minutes a day in the sun without sunscreen for children who can handle it. Now, parents, use common sense. If your kid cannot handle being in the sun without any sun protection for 10 to 15 minutes a day, then don't do that. Maybe take them out when it's not as hot in the day, and in the early morning or the late evening as the sun's still out, but it's starting to set. Or if you live in a place that's super hot like us, just use common sense. I mean, 5 minutes a day, maybe 3 minutes a day, but get them outside so they're absorbing that vitamin D from the natural source. Now, if your kids honestly cannot handle it all, then start researching vitamin D rich foods, start researching vitamin D supplementation. But the number one way to get it is from nature, straight from the sun. So let's talk about nutrition. That would be number 2. So again, this is a very obvious one. But sometimes it can be very hard to provide our kids with a nutritionally dense diet. So the biggest difference you can make in their focus and concentration, though, is to immediately begin eliminating processed foods and sugars. That's the best starting point. Then you're going to focus on what you're going to add in, and we're going to focus more on this and go in depth into more of this later in this week. But you want to focus really on getting some green leafy vegetables in because they are full of vitamin B, and vitamin B may help aid brain memory and focus. So if they just absolutely aren't going to eat those things, which I say if they're hungry enough they will, then why not try putting a multigreens in their smoothie in the morning or in their oatmeal, depending on their age. Some Super B or Mighty Bites, those are both great sources of vitamin B. Blueberries are a great example of an anti-rich oxidant food. Antioxidants stimulate the flow of blood and oxygen to your brain. I can think of something that we do on a daily basis that is very high in antioxidants and blueberries. And it's a red drink that comes in a bottle. I bet you know what that is too. Nuts like Brazilian and walnuts are excellent for brain function and retaining memory. And actually, if you've seen this before, if you haven't, go look it up because I think it's fascinating. But you can look up the shape of the fruit or the food, and it looks, whatever body part it mimics or looks most closely like is what body part it's going to most benefit. So like walnuts kind of look like a brain. So you can teach your kids to look at the walnut and make it, and like it looks like a brain, and tell them they eat that. It's going to make their brain really smart. Okay, so third, moving along, water. Water needs to be their drink of choice. Dehydration is one of the most obvious and undetectable causes of poor focus. Dehydrated brains cannot function. So if you've ever seen anyone who's had severe dehydration or almost borderline heat stroke, they kind of start talking crazy, like they can't even focus, they don't really know where they are. My daughter's experienced that. It is absolutely crazy. So take your body weight and divide it by 2, and that's the number of minimum ounces a day of water you should be drinking just for minimal hydration. So if you're outside in the heat, or if they've been outside playing, like we're going to encourage them to do, or they've been exercising or playing a sport, they need to drink even more than that, so to be properly hydrated. Okay, so number 4, limit screen time. So get them away from those things that are in their face all the time. Dr. Dunkley, in her article, Screen Time is Making Kids Moody, Crazy, and Lazy, says chronically irritable children are often in a state of abnormally high arousal and may seem wired and tired. That is, they're agitated but exhausted, because chronically high arousal levels impact memory and the ability to relate. So these kids are also likely to struggle academically and socially. So although we use technology and phones and tablets and computers for education, and they have their purpose and they are amazing, they cannot become your babysitter, and we have to limit how much time we allow our kids in front of them. Let's see, here we go. Dr. Robert Malilo, he's the creator of the Brain Balance Program. He recommends that children get no more than 1.5 hours of screen time daily on school days. I would say anytime, but I am battling teenagers, and if you guys have teenagers, you know how incredibly hard that is. Finally, number 5, help kids create a clean environment. Not only are we talking clutter-free, but we're talking chemical and toxin-free. Clutter takes its toll not only on the family overall, but on kids. They are very sensitive to things around them. I know I can't sit down and relax and calm my brain or focus on things if there's clutter and crap all around me. So put them in a cluttered room and it's going to be impossible for them to focus. So their study area, their bedroom, wherever they do their homework, those rooms really need to be clean and clutter free. Let them help you clean. It gives them responsibility, and of course, chemical free cleaners is what we're going to use. There's another article that I loved called "Are Everyday Toxins Causing ADHD?" So in this article, scientific research suggests that exposure to toxic chemicals, everyday toxins found in foods, carpeting, flooring, cleaning, lawn products, and personal care products like toothpaste, may contribute substantially to disorders such as ADHD, autism, and learning disabilities. So these are very easy things that you can do. They're not going to cost you any money. We haven't even touched on essential oils that we can use for focus and concentration. Of course, there's so much to that. We're going to go into that later, but there's so much you can do to help your kids focus and have better concentration without meds, with all things natural. So if you have any comments or any questions, I would love to hear them and love to know your thoughts. Thanks and have a great day.